So a lot of the times when I'm just driving down the road, I will find random cemeteries, and those are the ones I love stopping and checking out. And so I was driving, not really meaning to shoot anything right now, but I passed like 4 cemeteries from where I was to where I'm going, and I just kept passing them, and this last one I'm like, no, I'm gonna check this one out. So I drove up this little dirt road to this cemetery, and I found what could be one of the, I don't know, most run down cemeteries I've ever been to. Like it's in a nice spot. It's definitely cared for to a degree because the grass is cut, and there are some more modern day plots, so I know it's still in use. But a lot of the older stones are all broken. We'll come up here and I'll show you. A lot of them are broken, but one of the things is also I'm walking around and there's like rocks in the ground that I'm not quite sure if they're tombstones or not. I'll show you a couple of examples. So for instance, this rock, I can't tell if it's a tombstone or not. It could just be a rock. But as you can see, a lot of the stones are in a pretty bad shape, the older ones. And so for instance, there's a big rock right there, which could be a headstone that's just fallen and sunken into the ground. I cannot tell. So here's a stone, tiny little stone. And there's one right there. But there's a lot of broken down ones. And so it makes you wonder, is this the base of a stone? So it's a little weird walking around here because I'm just not sure if the rock I'm stepping over is supposed to be a marker or if it's literally just a rock. But I'm gonna wander around. I'm gonna take some shots of some of the stones, and we'll see kind of what we find here. Let's take a look. Here's another thing I've never seen before on a stone. I'll show you some that I saw that kind of told you who or what that person did while they were alive. This person, Adeline Johnson, a domestic servant from 1804 to 1893. So I've never seen that before, that Adeline Johnson was a domestic servant. I'm not exactly sure what that meant, what that means. Does that mean they were a slave? I'm not sure. If anybody knows, shoot me an email, let me know. There is more. See, this is what I'm talking about. I'm kind of walking over to show you guys something, and I see this. So I'm walking, I almost stepped right on that. Now that is just too perfect to be a rock on the ground. So that is definitely a marker that is toppled. I'm gonna show you this stone. I just caught it out of the corner of my eye, and it's definitely worn down. but it does have some really cool engravings on it, so I want to show you guys this one. So as you can see, I can't really make out what it says. I know it says 18, maybe 57 on there, and then it's worn away right there. But it also has dear brother, I think, dear mother, dear mother. Then on this side, it also has that. Made by Golden Berry something. Okay, so it's got a maker's mark on it that tells you who made the stone. I've never actually seen that before, and it's very prominent. So there's only one set of stones that are encapsulated within a gate. You see these a lot in cemeteries. Generally it means it's a family plot, someone who had a little bit of money that they could get some iron work or some wood work done. It's obviously very old. And the stones inside, let's take a look at them real quick. We've got Oliver Wilson from 1853 to 1909. Says he was a farmer and veterinary. And then I can't make out the name on this one, but it's definitely another Wilson, who was a seamstress, 1850 to 1942. And then over here, next to them, Nicey Johnson, another domestic servant. It's also interesting because you have these two who are in the gate, in the fence. Very nice stones. But then we have more Wilsons with definitely some homemade stones. And they're actually really nice homemade stones. You could tell it was a slab of concrete basically, and they pushed in items to make indents into it to make it a little bit more ornate. This person died in 1934. So very, very interesting cemetery. It is kind of sad to see it in such, or at least the older stones, in such disrepair. And that kind of brings me to something I wanted to bring up. For instance, I've showed you guys that there are some stones just laying on the ground, obviously tipped over. Some of them have had ornate pieces, like one I showed you that had an urn that was obviously from the top of the stone that has fallen down. It's now sitting on the base of the stone. And what's some others? Here's my thing. I know it may seem in your head when you're walking around a cemetery like this and you see stuff in disrepair or things knocked over, it's probably best not to try and fix it yourself. For a few different reasons. I don't know if that stone, for instance this one, that's just kind of sitting there, and it's definitely part of a stone. You can see it's got a J on there. I don't know if that's where that goes. It might have been picked up, or someone picked it up, walked it over here and dropped it, left it there. I don't know if there's actually someone in the ground interred right there. So I don't want to presume and mess something up. There's also stones they're just tipped over. You don't want to touch them because, again, you don't really know where they go. A lot of these stones are surprisingly heavy, like very heavy. Even the smaller ones are very, very heavy, and you don't want to try and pick one up to like prop it back up and it falls over again and then breaks in half. That would be very, very bad. So best rule of thumb, just leave everything the way it is. If you want to make something like a contribution to cleaning up the cemetery, don't do it by trying to move a headstone. Do it by picking up any trash you see. That's the best thing you can do. But that's it. It was a nice little stop, a very interesting cemetery. I've got some photos. I'll put them on the Instagram. So if you guys aren't already following the Instagram, that's where I've been putting all the photos that I take while on these adventures. And that's it. Until next time, the next little adventure, the next cemetery. I'll see you guys later.